Hello everyone, this is a continuation of a limited and small series regarding new functionality that is upcoming in the next 2.3 version of the product. If you haven't had a chance to review the first part, I would highly recommend it, because we are going to start off right where we left, which is defining what is the problem that we are trying to solve with the Balanced Data Distributor, and if there is a solution to improve the process and make it more flexible. So let me just jump right into the presentation again, and you can stay with me and watch what I'm going to do. So the last time we did the execution, I forgot to share that the execution for this type of process, that it's splitting the input data into 5 evenly distributed, evenly spread data files in Parquet file format. It took 1 minute and 3 seconds, and I would like to write this down, because we are going to show what the solution that we have is going to be demonstrating in terms of speed. So let's see. As you can see, this is very inflexible, very, how to say, design limited type of setup for doing the data processing. So let's just remove everything. We don't need this part anymore. And what we're going to do is we're now going to be doing the processing using the COZYROC data flow components. We're going to be using two components, the so-called data flow source and data flow destination components. These components are actually have been in the toolkit for many years, and the idea with these components was to be possible to connect two or more data flows to work together and to be possible to create reusable data flows. So we have actually made an extension where now it's possible to have multiple consumers of content that it's being sent to a data flow destination. So our raw data that is coming from the flat file, we are going to be inserting into the data flow destination component, and what we are going to be using is the so-called balanced distribution type of input handling, because we would like to send this data for processing to some other place. And we are going to select all of the columns from the input file, and that is the configuration for now. The next step is to create the partitions or the parts that we would like to generate from the input data. And for that process, let me just change this to something which makes better sense. So we're going to call this data flow source, and this is we're going to use a JavaScript to create the array with the parts that we are going to be generating. Let's go to grab the very useful reusable script. So this reusable script is simply going to allow me to just define the code, the body of the function that is going to be generating the result. So let me just quickly create the result. We are going to be using JavaScript code. So I'm forgetting something. Okay. Yes. We have to define a variable which is going to be, let's remove this everything. We don't need this. We're going to define a new variable which is going to be called part count, and this is going to define the number of separate partitions that we will be creating. And we also would like to have another variable where we are going to store the generated array. Let's go back to the script and create the code for the script. So we are going to be generating a range or array, and it is going to be using the variable that I just declared as an input. And also we actually need to have the actual file name for the Parquet files. So we are going to use the same script to generate these file names. Function item return part plus one plus item plus Parquet. Okay, I think that we are almost there. Just so we see that we are on the right path, we are going to see what is going to be the result of this function that we just defined. We are going to be storing part array. Okay, let's quickly test our script. Execute task. Okay, so this is what our files are going to look like when we use the new script. Let's remove these leftovers. And everything looks good so far. Okay, so now that we have the script that generates the file names, let's go back and make a slight adjustment here. We have to define an expression that it is going to dynamically set the number of consumers that are one second, consumers. We have to make one adjustment, you know. I forgot about something that is missing here. One second. Just give me a second. I have to make one thing that it is not going to be required in the I'm going to make a small adjustment, but that's not going to be required in the final release of the product. And I'm going to grab something. So no paths, parallel process, consumers count. This part we can actually ignore it, you know, because it is not going to be needed in your situation. I just have to adjust the package that I'm creating, because it is missing one important element to allow me to modify the consumer count property. So we just have to input one extra detail here. It's a hack actually, but it is not going to be needed. Here we have to say that we would like this to be possible to modify. Save. Okay, let's reopen again. Didn't reopen it. We have to restart Visual Studio. Okay, back in business, open the package. Okay, so we now can modify the, can we? Consumers count. I'm still not seeing the why am I not able to see that? Let's see again. save. Okay. Okay. I reopen it now. Is it available? Ah, perfect. Okay. So that's what we were looking for. We have to be able to set that expression for this property, because this is how we're going to control how many consumers are going to be attached to the data flow destination. Okay, so this is good. Now we have the source. So what we have to do now is we have to create a loop that is going to iterate over the array that is created in this script, and we are going to call this loop loop balanced. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger to accommodate, and we are going to be iterating the array created from the JavaScript for each from variable. We are going to use the part array, and for current iteration we have to create a new variable. Now what is important about the variable used for iteration, we have to make sure that this variable it is moved on the loop scope, because this loop is going to be executed in parallel. We are going to see shortly what I mean by that. So now we are going to define the data flow that consumes the data coming from the source, and for that we are going to be using the data flow source component, and the data flow source component is pointing to the source data flow destination. We are going to be consuming all the columns, and now we are going to direct this data to a parquet destination, and again we are going to be using variable, new variable, parquet cut. It is going to be of type object, and we have to make some additional adjustments before we are ready to execute. What I mean by that is the parquet path has to be again scoped inside the loop, and we have to also make one more adjustment. We have to make sure we have to set up an expression for this variable, because we would like to store the result into our temp folder. And to do this we have to set that the variable is evaluated as expression, and we have to define the expression for that variable. Temp Okay, so far it looks really nice, and we are almost there. So the last step that we have to do before our elastic, that's how I call it, elastic data processing pattern looks like, we have to use the parallel loop tags. This is again a functionality provided only by COZYROC. We are going to make sure that the parallel loop task is ready to execute only after the iterated array is ready, and we have to select the for each loop that is going to be executed in parallel. That's it. And one more step and we are there. Thank you for your patience. we have to make sure that the max executables is configured from the part count variable. We have to create an expression for that. And it is going to point to part count 5. Perfect. Okay, so this is our design. Let's execute this package and see what we are going to get as a result in our C temp folder. Okay, ready, start. So something failed. Okay, yes, so forgot one more step. We have to remove the alert. We don't need this. We just needed this for testing purposes. And we have to make sure that the for each loop is disabled, because it is going to be controlled by the parallel loop task. Okay, let's start again. Okay, so we started to process the data. As you can see, the files are being generated now. And we can see what is the speed here. So as you can see, the data is being pulled, and we are going to probably soon have the result. It is going to be good to compare the execution times of the previous approach, where we use the standard balanced data distributor, and then using the new approach, which is the flexible one. And so we can see whether we are doing any different, or if there is a performance issue with the two different approaches. I hope that there is not going to be any difference, but you never know. Let's just see it, you know. Okay, so we are almost there. 5 million records are finished processing. And we have the files ready. The execution is complete, and we can see that the execution completed in 1 minute and 5 seconds. So in terms of performance, we are doing really good. It is actually great. We don't get any performance hit, and we now have a new design, which is flexible design, and which is going to work for any scenario that we have in our type of SSIS solutions. So I hope that you really like this type of content, and I'm going to do another presentation that you're going to also enjoy, I believe, because we are going to introduce another mode of handling inside the data flow destination that is going to give you even more features for you to play with. Again, if you want to reach out to us, you know, this is how you do it. You know, we have a YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channel, and we'll be happy to hear your comments and your ideas of how we can possibly improve and make our components more usable to your needs. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye bye.